Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paper Reviews. Today, we're going to be talking about Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory. And because I wanted to do something with it that wasn't Ladies Fashion Showcase, I wanted to do this show with none other than my tag partner, Mel. How are you, Mel?
I am doing great, my friend. I'm just getting over a bit of a cold here, so my voice might sound like a bit of a prepubescent boy, and that's okay. How are you doing, my friend?
It was a long day, but I'm glad it was time for Impact. I was waiting for that time frame, just like 8 o'clock. Get here already, please. I wanted the show to start, but we had a great pay per view. Like overall, I feel like there's nothing disappointing. But I guess we'll start with what the bombshell that ended the show with.
Yeah.
Um, Not to spoil the main event. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But after the main event happened, we started getting like it almost gave me like a Bray Wyatt kind of vibes video, and I thought
Mhm.
it was something else, and I took it off, and then I had to put it back in when I realized people from like Impact were actually on like the video package, and we
Mhm.
had it was like Woodsy, and then we had people like Kaz come in from the water, coming in with this like big trunk in his hands, and we
Mhm.
had Alicia there, and Eddie Edwards was there, and then we had Jordan and the Machine Guns and Josh and EY, and I kept thinking, what do all these people have in common? Because they talk to each other like they have something to be united for. And I
Mhm.
couldn't think of anything because I'm like thinking people like Kaz and EY are more like originals, versus Jordan and Eddie and Alicia are newer people, and Josh is just like, so it's not that. I just couldn't figure out what it was, and I
Yeah.
knew people have been waiting for that hard to kill announcement of like when it was gonna be, where
Mhm.
it's gonna be exactly, because people knew that's a January paper. We didn't know where it was gonna happen, and they didn't announce it before the main event. So I was waiting, and they keep talking about like closing chapters and new books, and then let's go back and rewrite history. And I was like, wait, what's happening here? I'm so
Mhm.
confused. But the great announcement is that Impact Wrestling is rebranding back to TNA, which is a lot easier to chant for us fans during these shows, at least. Yeah, this is definitely not something I thought that was going to happen. So they announced basically Hard to Kill was the rebrand, making it back to TNA, which is, I feel at the same time like it's dear to my heart because I went to watching TNA. I was there for those pay-per-views, and it was TNA here in Universal Orlando, so it's so familiar to me. So, and then we had, after the video package was over, we had all those people that I just named in the ring with Scott D'Amore saying we're back, and they just announced that they just TNA for Hard to Kill now in January. So, what did you think about that, Mel? Because I think we were both confused at the same time, though.
We were just throwing back and forth ideas like maybe
Yeah.
it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's
Yeah.
this, maybe it's this. Um, at some point, I was like, this is feeling very TNA-ish. And yeah, lo and behold, I'm actually pretty excited for this. TNA was also something that I kind of got introduced to out of high school, um, as an alternative for WWE, a much easier to find alternative to WWE, and sometimes much better quality of certain stuff. Especially when it comes to women's wrestling. So it was a little shocking to me to see them going back to the name, but it does open up a lot of, I think, opportunities and avenues for them, not just for like professional stuff, but also for the fans. I mentioned that we had seen, in the crowd as they were panning through, there was an adult who was super pumped and super excited about this, holding probably like a 7 or 8 year old who looked confused as heck. This is an opportunity for families to kind of bond over it. I'm very excited about it. And it's also easier to chant than
It definitely
impact,
is.
from a crowd perspective. So I think this is a
Yeah.
great idea. A lot of wrestling companies are kind of like that. They have that acronym
Hmm.
for themselves. Impact was kind of the odd man out. I think it's a great move for them. Not necessary for the company, but I think a good opportunity for them for sure.
I do wonder now, thinking back of like, since it's a rebranding with all the championships having the Impact name on it, do we get new championships at the beginning of the year that says TNA on them, and then having to change everything on the website to like TNA Knockouts World Champion, TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and
Yeah.
TNA Tag Team Champion? So that definitely feels weird to go back to. But yeah, I feel like I wonder if like new championship designs are coming based on that as well. So I think that will be something interesting to see too, having them
Mhm.
presented to each one of the champions at that time, or maybe after the Hard to Kill pay per view, like we're gonna present them now as like
Yeah.
opening the rebrand for that pay per view. So I think either way, it'll be something looking forward to see how that goes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Very excited for them.
Yeah. One thing though, I had to note that unfortunately we realized as the pre-show was happening that the match that was MK Ultra, so Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly versus Tasha Steelz and Deonna for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships was taped before the pay-per-view. Meaning it's probably gonna be some kind of digital exclusive sometime later in the week. I was disappointed with that because that was one of the matches I was looking forward to, and I was like,
Hmm.
could have made the pre-show maybe a whole hour and done maybe the Hall of Fame and then the match. I think like that would have been something to see. So I was very disappointed in that part of it. And
Hmm.
Barry's gonna be here when we said Impact was having a post show. I'm into Wednesday, and it was a laughing stock later on. They need to try to associate it with more the early years. I think that's what they meant more than anything with that promo. Of like we're gonna go back to what it was at the beginning. So I definitely think it's gonna be those early years that were not involving Hulk Hogan, of course.
Oh, yes. I refuse to support the Aces of Eights storyline again. Never again. No.
No, please.
Do not do that to us.
I was there when that happened. No,
That was why
no,
I
thanks.
stopped watching it. That was an atrocious storyline.
To say the least.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, what did you think about that part of having the women's tag team championship match being taped and it's probably going to be posted later on online? It just in that part of the pay per view, even though it was advertised as part of the pay per view before the pay per view happens.
Mhm.
So overall, I was disappointed because that was one of those matches I was looking forward to. I feel like
Same.
they could have done the pre-show a little bit because I thought the pre-show started at 7. Then I realized it was 7:30, and I made by the time I realized it was going to be only the Hall of Fame, which is fine. But I think they could have done it at least in the pre-show and had the girls show up at the pay-per-view there. It's just disappointing that it had been advertised as part of it up until it wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because all four of those women are women who, a couple of them I'm familiar with more in their kind of singles kind of um, opportunities. So I was excited to see them kind of in a tag situation, especially Tasha. Tasha doesn't necessarily play well with others. So that was something that I was looking forward to kind of seeing her kind of get over, seeing how much that championship kind of meant. So yeah, not being able to watch it tonight, a little disappointing. A little disappointing. Would have liked to have seen it. Um, but I guess you got to find your exclusive content somewhere. You know, maybe your death match could have been that one. Saved a Melball from having to watch that ish.
That's very sad. I suppose if they had to drop a match, it was the easiest as all Impact wrestlers. I did like maybe the other one I could have done too. I would have done an hour pre-show and maybe done the gauntlet during the pre-show because I would have been another one, and then have the women's being that it's a championship match as part of the pay-per-view in itself. That's another one that I thought about later on, but because I
Yeah,
feel like all the
maybe.
matches were worthy of the pay-per-view tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree because, like, yeah, I enjoyed the gauntlet match though. I thought it was
Yeah.
appropriately put in the show and gave me the energy that I needed to gain for the rest of the show.
That gauntlet was a crazy hot mess, but we'll get
Yes, it
to that
was.
in a bit. Uh, they announced it, and we opened the show with Chris Sabin versus Kenta for the X Division Championship. Yeah, I feel like this is a great show, great choice for an opener. And we
Mhm.
have Ed come in here. Hey, ladies, thank you, Ed, for stopping by.
Go ahead.
I like how they pointed out that they have been against each other in tag teams, but never one on one. This is the first time they both go one on one, and obviously for the championship. And there were so many close calls during this match. I was so scared. I was like, oh no, Kenta's gonna take it, isn't he? And it started when he did that kind of roll up towards the ropes, using the ropes as leverage. And I thought, oh, he's got it. And then the
Mhm.
referee saw him, and then from there, it kept getting closer and closer every time 2 or 3. Kind of was getting me so nervous during the match. But
Yeah.
at the end, we had Sabin retaining the championships. Thank God. What did you think?
You know what? That kind of, if you watch Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk, you know my complaints about Kenta. You know, he seemingly is being really punished for leaving because every time he seems to get an opportunity, it just kind of make it feel like he's just gonna get there and then he doesn't. It's been a very similar to how Sonata's career was up until winning the IWGP World Championship. And yeah, and a lot of Kenta's kind of template here is yeah, Jay White was in the gauntlet. He was not. We're gonna tell him he was though. But yeah, Kenta, unfortunately, he just doesn't. His template for his matches are him looking like he's going to gain that upper hand and then just getting obliterated in the final few moments or getting tricked and rolled up in some capacity. So once I started kind of noticing that, I was like, yeah, he's not going to take this, which disappointed me as a Kenta fan because like I have been waiting for Kenta to win either the cup or the G1 for like the last 3 years. And I keep hoping. I keep picking him. Not the case though. But it was really fun to see pretty much a Kenta match in another company besides NJPW. And Sabin did really integrate that NJPW styling into this one, allowing Kenta to take him outside. And they really did compensate for the difference in count out because in North America, it's a 10-second count out. In Japan, it's a 20, so they can kind of do a little bit more on the outside. I really liked how they were able to work together to still get each other's kind of usual feel in the match. Yeah, I really enjoyed. You mentioned at one point when we were watching that Kenta was really slowing things down with the submissions, and then Sabin was speeding things up. That's exactly how Kenta wrestles with especially with those high speed guys. He has to tie them up. He has to slow them down, do everything he can. I noticed he never popped off his spinning back fist. Maybe that was the deciding factor that he didn't come up with a victory in that one. Maybe if he had gotten that spinning back fist, it might have been a different outcome. However, congratulations, Chris Sabin.
So lesson learned. Stop picking Kenta.
Yeah, right. One day I'll learn. One day. Maybe it'll be
Today's your day. No, yeah. Overall, like how this is a different in styles, but still they complement each other so well. With like one is going with the speedy, and then one's going more like in the mat and the submissions and things like that. So I did like the back and forth in here. It just had me nervous in so many occasions with Kenta getting that freaking close to it. But no, they had a good match. So I was just thinking that maybe if Kenta won it, they would have had Kenta versus Sabin, like maybe a little bit back and forth here for the title, and that's what I kept thinking of. But I'm glad with Sabin keeping it. Like, let's keep it that way. And then after that, we had Melball's favorite match of the night, right, Melball?
No, not even a little.
You know it was. Come on, you can admit it.
No.
So the match that Melball loved was PCO versus Rhino versus Steve Maclin versus Moosse in a Monsters Ball match. And as an Impact fan, you would know that before the pay-per-view starts, they start showing them in the room and they have no light and no water enough for 24 hours, quote unquote. And then they show them getting out of the match, getting out of the room and like adjusting to the light now because there's a green light in the room. And we get our entrances, and I feel like it goes off to the races after the entrances happen. It was crazy. I think one of the
entrances was the first one.
Yeah,
it was just chaos.
And there was one part that it took me. We had PCO hitting. I think it was a leg drop from the top rope. That was painful to watch. I'm sorry, PCO.
Watching that man fall that distance.
I think my everything hurts when I see him fall.
I mentioned this to you as we were watching the match. I was like, I have these Yzma moments from Disney where it's just like, he's still alive. How? How?
I don't know how.
And why, though?
No, and the way he did it too, because after he did the leg drop and he landed and he went down on the ground, he was so close of hitting his body to the cinder blocks they had. That wasn't that spot at that moment. That freaking close. I was like, a little bit more. I don't know if he almost hit his head around it. Like that would have been crazy. I think the other part that you didn't like either was the table with the barbed wire, because later on we had Bully Ray come in and he distracted Maclin and he just literally went whoop, and he just threw Maclin onto the table and he missed like more than half of the table as well, which is not a great thing either. And I think the other favorite spot was definitely when Moosse was putting the thumbtacks and on top of the cinder blocks, and he went and he had a thing against PCO at that moment there too, just laying him on like Not even half of them either. It's just like I feel like it would have been better if he landed just exactly on top of it, but he landed like a little bit before it. So
I
he only
let
got
go
some of
of
them in his like head and neck more than anything.
that. June Kasai. I can't do it, man. I don't understand. Like, if it's pain and pleasure thing is your thing, I mean, no judgment here, maybe a little bit, but I don't want to see that. Think of the children.
Think of
Even though
Melba.
I'm not a fan of children either, think of the children. Yeah, like putting the thumbtacks. When I saw him putting the thumbtacks on the cinder blocks, I was concerned. But then when he like completely biffed the spot for it and then had to roll into it to get the thumbtacks onto his shoulders and his head, and then he completed the match another few more minutes with these tacks. Every time he turned around after, I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
no. Why? These matches are not necessary. They're
Very. I think
excessive. They're disgusting.
this is so accurate though. Very. I think the cinder blocks are more likely to get injured than PCO. That is very accurate.
He's like Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. He just needs to stop,
I don't
please.
know how he does it. I think my favorite part though was when we had Moose had a chair in his hands and then Rhino came in and speared him and I think Rhino hit himself with the chair that
Yes,
Moose
he
had in
did.
his
Yeah,
hands. But
yeah.
then that moment like PC was like, this is my shot. And he comes in. I think he did I don't know if he did like a leg drop too on Moose and then pinned him. But when he won, we were both
He
like, is that
felt it.
it? Like we weren't sure if he won or not for sure, but he looked like he just won like
Yeah, he just
it was
felt.
funny.
The best thing in this match, I think, was Moose's outfit.
Oh gosh.
And how he was
The
dressed
Christmas
in those
pajamas, you
like
mean.
Christmas morning
Yeah.
red plaid pants that were tight, not loose. That was the best part because watching his tiny little legs stutter run in that was just that was my highlight. But
It just
yeah,
reminded me of Christmas all over again.
yeah, this was not a Melbow match. This was not how you follow up a good opener for me. Blech.
No. It made us laugh though with the spots. So that was my favorite part of like us laughing back and forth and like them missing the spots and not hitting them when we thought that we were gonna hit them either. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the swing and a miss was kind of funny, yeah. Thank goodness they
Ah,
missed, though.
yeah. Well, right after this, we had the Rascalz, which is Trey, Miguel, and Zachary Wentz versus
Yeah.
Chris Bay and Austin. So ABC for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. I mean, this is one of those typical like X Division type of matches for me. That's what it felt like more than anything. It's like the speed, the chasing, the back and forth. The double team moves as we all get to love from both teams here. And watching Bay and Austin more than anything, they were so smooth as a team. It just reminded me of the machine guns, the way they communicate with each other and they like go quickly and they do their thing and they get out of there. And I was like, holy crap, what just happened? I just feel like I wish I could rewind a couple of seconds to keep up with them. But still, it was a great match to watch. I love having that speed type of match, and that was great after having the monsters while having this follow it up. I feel it was better to pick us up because the other one was so slow as well. But I prefer that one there too. And as Barry's saying, I enjoyed the tag match, but I can't remember it. It just I can't keep up with them, so I can't even tell you what happened because I can't keep up to take notes on them. But I did love that moment of we had Zach going for a tope suicida onto the guys, and it was like beautiful. I loved it there. But more than anything, the important part of the match is when Zach spray paints Trey, and then we had Ace and Bay take advantage of it, and that's how they win back their championships there because it belongs to them. That's how I see it. But overall, enjoyable match. I loved it from beginning to end. And what did you think, Mel?
Yeah, this was a fun tag match, yeah. Very, very high speed, very cruiserweight feeling, very Super Junior. Ironic that the Super Juniors have just started in NJPW. And I believe last year, Ace and Bay were involved
Mm-hmm.
in the Super Junior. Disappointed not to see them over there this year, but still got to see them tonight. So that's good.
Yeah.
And got to see them win, which is even better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Not gonna lie though, Mr. Austin is going through that awkward phase where he looks like a poodle who's long overdue for a haircut. Uh can't tell if it works for him or not because good looking guy, but at the same time it's like you part the hair. Maybe we can see the face. Um, yeah, but for the wrestling, holy crap, these guys. The lack of communication that both these teams needed in doing their moves just is so good. This is something I speak about a lot on Andre and Melballs with the people in NJPW. The teams there are just so good at creating all of this magic without ever having to say anything to each other. And there's a glorious chaosness in it where it's like so imperfectly perfect, where it's like you can see that there's little things that are happening which are making it not quite what it's like 100%. But that's the beauty of it, because that means we know it's an organic fluid thing that's happening that these guys are making, and I love it. This was a
Yeah.
fun match.
And I think probably our favorite match of the night was definitely the next one. That was Will Ospreay versus Speedball. Ah, that's another one. Chef's kiss. It's
Wow.
another. I couldn't keep up with either one of them either. This is one of those that I don't have a lot to like when it comes to like notes, but I love this one part in the match though when Ospreay just keeps avoiding his Speedball's kicks,
Yes.
and then he did it twice, and then the third one he keeps putting his head down, and when he looks up and the Speedball just hits him right there, and then
Yeah.
yeah, this was like so beautifully done.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't watch Osprey often, and I've been enjoying him so far in AEW, and to watch him now to be a different environment with like a different person entirely like this, like Speedball. And Speedball, since he's joined Impact, has been doing so great. I don't think I can name a bad Speedball match since I've been watching Impact with him involved. So I knew this was gonna be one of those like from the get go, it's like this is gonna be one of the top matches of the night, and it definitely was. I feel like it's the one that kept our energy and our attention the most out of anything on the card tonight.
Mhm.
And the way they meshed together was so beautifully done.
Mhm.
And it's one of those like I couldn't keep up with it. I couldn't tell who was gonna win it because I feel like it could have gone either way. Which every one of them with every pinfall that was happening, it was
Mhm.
such a close call in every single pinfall towards the end there. But at the end, we had Will Ospreay winning the match. Like
Yeah.
holy crap, that's all I can say about this match.
Mhm. And both these guys pulled out everything they had. Like, Osprey even pulling out his new thing. Andre will give me so much shit if I don't remember the name of it. Is it the Storm Driver? I think
Hmm.
it's the Storm Driver. He even pulled out the Storm Driver on him. And Speedball almost got the Flamingo Driver on Will Ospreay. Yeah, the strikes from Bailey are just some of the best, especially for his size and stature, are just he's deceptively strong for such a diminutive sized individual. And then going against someone like Osprey, who is also deceptively strong, but also deceptively fast. Um, I think my favorite part of the strike, kind of going back and forth with them, was when Osprey did that kind of Matrix
Hmm.
back bend to the straight kick from Bailey. I know we've seen people do that in the past with that before, but it's always impressive to see someone do that, especially with someone like me who has a core injury, so I can't do that. So it's always endlessly impressive. But yeah, the amount of times that Will Ospreay had to hit a hidden blade on Bailey to put him down, and then finally the Stormbreaker was just oof. But man, these guys went hard. This was such a fast match. These guys were so good.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to see one of the if one match I could recommend from the whole show is definitely that one because it
100%.
was just so fast paced. I couldn't keep up what they were doing, but they're just going at such a speed that everything just made sense the way they're going the sequences, and I loved it from beginning to end. I
Same.
think the next match that really we enjoyed, like both of us as a whole, and this was gonna be a lot for me to like say, uh, but it was a Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Just to explain it for people that don't watch Impact, this is kind of like a Rumble, to put it like that. But they have 20 competitors. We have two people starting the match. Every minute, somebody else comes in. You can only eliminate people over the top rope as well. But when there's only two people left in the match, it's a regular match 1-on-1. So it's either you win by pinfall or submission. So having to go through all this, they did like a little promo to promote it back before the match started. So we had at least 13 people out of the 20 were like announced beforehand. So that was Brian Myers. We had EY, Eric Young, Dango, who I love that Melba just went Dango. And I'm like, yeah, it's Dango. Calm down, Melba.
Yeah, I
um,
didn't understand that this was not something to be excited about.
and then we have Bully Ray, we had Jake something, Jordan Grace, and that's another thing. The knockouts can get involved in this one as well. and whoever wins it, they could obviously call their shot for whatever championship they want. We had Joe Henry, Frankie Kazarian, Kylie King, Kenny King, Jody Threat, Giselle Shaw, Eddie Edwards. Those were the ones that were named. So there's about 13 out of 20 spots that were basically claimed before the match started. So to long story short, I'm going to try to do a little bit of notes based on what we saw, because there were so many eliminations that it was sometimes hard to keep up with what was happening. Who
Yeah.
eliminated, especially when it was really crowded at one point in the ring, like it happens in the Rumble too. So it's like I can't even watch out for everybody. But we started with Jake something, which is Eddie Edwards. That's Barry saying it here. Impact does these ridiculous matches perfectly. I see them other places and they're embarrassingly bad, but for Impact they do work. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
how I feel
agree.
too. Yeah, because I remember explaining it to you, and it was like, yeah, it's just like a Rumble, but at the end they just one on one.
Yeah, this was good. It was a good match.
So we had first thing is like we had Eddie slip under the ring, so I automatically told Mel he's not eliminated just in case. So watch out for him coming back. I thought he's gonna come back later on, more like in one of those spots, but it wasn't. We had at that moment a reunion between Kenny King and Edwards, and they were like hugging each other when they were teaming up on Jake something. Is it like, oh, I don't know more, and we have to go back to this. But to clarify, they haven't teamed up in quite a bit. One of the surprise entries was Juventud Guerrera, which I definitely was not expecting that to see that one tonight. The next surprise entrance, I was going to say, was Johnny Swinger, which I was not really particularly happy about. I was like, why him? But okay. At one point, we had Crazy Steve come in. He started hitting Juventud Guerrera and Johnny Swinger with the briefcase that he had, and they had to take him out of the ring because he wasn't part officially of the match. We had Giselle coming in, and I like how she comes in and automatically just take out Swinger. I was like, yes, keep going, girl. Let's keep going. Let's do this. So we had Steve going with going towards Swinger, but like attacking him with the fork, which is what he did to Tommy Dreamer. So that automatically alerted Tommy Dreamer to come out and basically take out Crazy Steve towards the back as well. And we have Millwall's favorite person in this match, Jody Threat, coming out too. So we had, I know she was happy to see Jody there too. I liked that one point that we had. Sure, I wasn't sure which one of the knockouts. I think it was either Kylie King or Jody. It was Jody that was pushing Giselle to go to the outside over the top rope. But we had Jay and Savannah helping her the way they usually do at the Rumble. Barry, you're very wrong on this one. I'm gonna have to disagree. And Johnny Swinger's the greatest world wrestler. No.
Not from what I saw. That was my first introduction.
No.
That
Oh,
was
that was
we'll
something.
give that one a 1 out of 10 just to be nice.
To be nice. But we had basically them helping Giselle to get back in the ring, and then at one point it was Kylie King versus Jody happening as well. And the first, like, I feel like real surprise entry was Sonny Kiss, who was just released from AEW not too long ago. So it's definitely a surprise to see Sonny Kiss as part of this. And then we had Bully Ray come out, and I was like, oh no, I feel bad for Sonny. I just wanted to go rest in peace, Sonny, because I was so afraid of how Bully was going to eliminate her. But Sonny was just dance. They just had a dance off at one point in the ring,
which
and
was
then,
cringe.
Yeah, we'll go with cringe. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can
Not
describe
her, him.
Yeah.
Watching her was fine, but him.
Yeah,
let me ring with his weird gyration things.
I was gonna say, Bully, just stick to wrestling and trash talking people, because that's why you're good at least. Let's get to that. The next surprise entry was Matt Cardona, and at one point I forgot who they had though, but I think it was Cardona. Bully had Cardona for the "What's up," and then Sonic Kiss is the one that did it onto Cardona there too with the leg. And then we had Jordan come in, and at one point we had that face-off between Jordan and Bullies, which is priceless to see from the get-go. We had Eric Young come in, and then we had Joe Henry. We have Brian Myers, and we had Myers and Cardona coming in and teaming up with each other for quite a bit, eliminating people. So they eliminated Heath and a few others. I know Kazarian came in there in the match as well, Rick Swan, and then we had Gresham. Gresham came in, and I was already thinking Jordan and Gresham. I was waiting for this face off, please. And then we had Dango. I love how Dango came in, him with Vladimir Kozlov and his other person. I forgot to write down his name, but he comes there with his like squad. I'm going in into entering this match, and he enters the match. And just as he goes in, he goes out.
It was glorious. Glorious.
I love how we both started laughing at the same time when this was happening. Like we couldn't hold it. That he just had this like, yeah, I'm ready to go into this match, and then he comes in and he was out just like that.
Easiest payday of his life.
Probably. Barry saying, I was really hoping Yuya will turn up. Sadly, not. I know, definitely, Yuya's going back to Japan.
He's
Is it that he's
busy.
back in? Yeah, so he's
He's
booked and
busy.
busy
He's
now.
shooting with
Yeah.
House of Torture now with just 5 guys. He's got some
Yeah.
stuff to figure out over there.
Yeah, so definitely not someone I was expecting for sure. Cass was eliminated by again Cardona and Myers, and then we had a little face off between Jordan and Gresham, which I love. It was such a great tease, but
Mhm.
not much happened there. I was just hoping that we kind of put the camera towards them and have them do a little spot towards the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing really happened there.
No.
Um, and then it was basically at one point Jake something versus the major players, aka Myers and Cardona in there. And
Mhm.
Myers just low blows Jake something, throws him out, but then Cardona throws Myers out, which I was waiting for from the get go. I was waiting. It was like whenever there's not a lot of people left, I'm waiting for Cardona to throw it Myers
Of
because I knew that was
course.
going to happen. The dirtiest player in the
No
game, Matt
loyalty.
Cardona.
No
um,
loyalty.
yeah, no love there. So the final four were Bully Ray, Kylie King, Jordan Grace, and Matt Cardona. And I love that one spot of like Bully and Jordan look at each other. They eliminate Cardona and Kylie King at the same time. So we have Bully Ray versus Jordan to end the show. And
Mhm.
this is when it becomes one on one at this point. Now Bully can no longer throw Jordan over the top rope. They has to be pin for submission. And
Mhm.
I just kept telling Mobo, I'm just hoping she wins. I don't want him to win this again. He won it last time. I felt like I had PTSD from when he came in the ring. And I was like, please just let it be Jordan. Like, how many times was I saying, please let it be Jordan? Please let it be Jordan.
As soon as they eliminated King until the end of the match.
I literally kept looking at the screen. I couldn't even look at Mel. And I was like, please let it be Jordan.
Oh yeah,
Please.
King, you weren't even looking.
Yes, I was so scared, but Jordan wins at the end, thankfully. And this is
Yeah.
historic too because I didn't know she's the first knockout to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So that's pretty awesome. She's like, I love how she took the microphone and said, I'm always making history. So this is another moment being the first knockout. And she says officially that she's gonna call her shot Hard to Kill, which is a January pay-per-view there.
Mhm.
Yeah, overall, the match was fun to watch. I feel like this was, like you said, glorious chaos with like between the people coming in, the eliminations, the like back and forth, and there's so many teases, and I don't know, there was a lot of everything in here. But what did you think
Yeah.
overall of the match too?
It was so much. There was so much going on, but there was a certain it was so strange because for how chaotic it felt, it still felt organized. It like as strange as that is, they there was at no point in well, there were a couple points in time where I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Like when especially when Jordan and Jonathan Gresham were kind of doing their face off. I was kind of like, I don't care what's happening with Tommy Dreamer and Grady Steve on the outside. What's happening with the husband and wife duo? I want to see domestic dispute. I want to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, overall this match was very interesting. I did like the kind of 60-second kind of entry, though it did kind of feel I think that was what for me added to the chaos of it and almost a little bit of anxiety because it was like as they're starting to finally figure out what the kind of sequence of the person who just came out is doing, the 10-second countdown has started for the next person coming in. So it kind of was like it felt a little rushed, but not necessarily in a bad way, but certainly in an anxious way. It was certainly making me feel a little stressed out. Um, and then there was a number of times where, again, I never saw certain people get eliminated. I was excited to see Jody get in there. I couldn't tell you how she got eliminated. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to remember who took
so
her
I was
out.
like, yeah,
Oh,
as it was Joe
Gresham took her
Hendry.
out.
Joe
It was
Hendry got eliminated,
yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, Joe Henry, I think I missed that but I know Gresham, he came in and he eliminated Jody. That I was able to get note of.
Okay. Yeah, see,
Um
I missed that. So yeah, it was
yeah.
glorious chaos, but it was a great glorious chaos because as was
Mhm.
mentioned in the comment before, there's a lot of places that do this kind of glorious chaos stuff
Yeah.
a lot, and they can't seem to make it glorious. It's just chaos. This was a good level of chaos that was
Mhm.
entertaining but not confusing. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
but also the match itself made sense. Everyone being where they were at the time that they were there made sense. People weren't just chilling like a villain on the outside having a
Hmm.
breather or a snack or a cookie or something. There was purpose to everything that had happened. So yeah, very, very well organized match. Whoever organized that match was just thinking.
Yeah, I think the only time that we really saw everybody like resting like on the mat at the sides, like they were inside the ring just in the corners, was when
Yeah,
Vladimir Kozlov came in there and tried to
I
eliminate
love
whoever eliminated Dango, which is the only part that people were trying to run in and the referees are trying to take him out. So that was the
mm,
only part that everybody was like resting. But other
mm,
than that, there was always something happening in the ring. So it was like we can't
yeah,
even tell you what happened with like one corner because we're focused on a different corner and then the camera angle is not helping us either. But
yeah.
I think overall it's still one of those like matches that no matter what happens, I think there was only one point that I forgot who came close to like Kylie King came close to like hitting somebody, or she did when she landed somewhere. But other than that, it was so
Really
organized. It
good.
was like, yeah, that's how it was. And there was always something happening. It's what I
Mhm,
love about this too. Is like there was no one moment that was that slowed down. And even
mhm.
at that one point, they're saying before something got eliminated, Jake something, they said Jake has been in this match for 27 minutes. I was like, it doesn't even feel like it's been 27 minutes. That's
Mhm.
how it felt. Every time somebody else came out, everyone, this is going by fast, Mel, like super fast for me. Like those
Yeah,
minutes felt like that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but overall, I feel like he did like probably close to like 30 minutes because I was a little bit before he got eliminated. So he probably came close to the 30 minutes. So I didn't even feel like it was that long, but
No,
it was. So
yeah.
but overall, I feel like this was the fun match of the night was this one for me at least. It kept my attention. We were laughing and we're like cheering and like booing and everything,
Mhm.
like reacting to everything that we were watching as it was happening. But overall, it's a hot mess, but in a good way for Impact. As we like to say, it's the best way we can describe it. That glorious chaos, as we say. Um,
Yes.
and then after this, she officially announced, which is what Barry's saying. I think they should have held off on and see what she's doing. Yeah, I definitely felt the same way. I feel like it would have been nicer to have her kind of like tease because I feel
Mhm,
like she could have gone for the world title, being that it's Jordan. She's obviously the strong, one of the stronger knockouts. So I feel
mhm,
like I would have her tease it, like maybe come to ringside for the world title matches in the next like few weeks, or going
yeah,
for the knockouts kind of matches to like have people doubt what title she was going for, rather than just saying, "Oh, I'm going for the Knockouts World Championship." Like, there's no doubt about it at
mhm.
Hard to Kill. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I would have liked some teasing in between here and there. Kind of like what they do with Money in the Bank briefcase of like, you see that person of like with the briefcase, you don't know if they're going to cash in or not. So I was
Yeah,
waiting for something along those lines from her. But I was surprised she announced it right there and then. It's like, it's happening. I was like, oh, okay, sure. If you're going for it, let's go for it, girl. I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. I would have liked like a promo or something, or
Mm,
like a just like a segment on the next Impact show or TNA show, where whenever the rebranding is
mm,
happening,
yeah.
where she kind of like comes out and maybe celebrates and gloats a little bit. She earned that
Yeah.
opportunity and right to do so anyway, and then maybe said it's obvious I'm going to go for this, and
Mhm.
this is when I want it. I would have definitely, I think, liked to see that. I think we're going to get it anyway because she's really good at those talking segments. But yeah, yeah.
And after this, we had one of the like nerve-wracking matches of the night for me. Um, Trinity versus Mickie James for the Knockouts World Championship.
Mhm,
This was one of those. I love the story here between both of these because I kept
mhm,
telling Mel to like catch her up on what was happening of like the last rodeo, because it's what Mickie mentioned in the interview she had during the pre-show too.
mhm,
And I kept wondering, does that mean if she loses this match, this is like the official like last rodeo? Because during her last rodeo, she relinquished the title.
mhm.
So that was the thing I was like thinking about. But overall, these two, they had such great chemistry,
Oh,
and it's just incredible to believe this is the first time they're going one on one opposite of each other like this, and just I can't believe it hasn't happened before. And Trinity has been doing great as a Knockouts champion. So it's like I had a feeling that we're gonna keep the title on her. But I still had those moments of like, oh, maybe that it's not gonna happen. Maybe it won't. Maybe they'll give it to Mickie. But
mhm.
either way, these two killed it. This was a great match. Uh,
So good.
I can't even describe it to be honest. But still, we had Trinity retaining. I love how right after Mickie tapped out at the end, like she embraced her really quickly, and they had that moment of respect for each other
Mhm.
after Trinity retained the championship. So now I'm just looking forward. It's like, oh, who's gonna challenge Trinity next? Because we definitely have to wait for Jordan at Hard to Kill. So there's a little bit of gap in between here and there. So, but
Mhm.
overall, I feel like they did great for a match, especially being the first time they face each other.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And this is the first time I actually saw a full match of Trinity since she has gone to Impact. So this was a really fun ride for me. Let's just take a moment to fuss about the outfits, though. The stars all over Trinity were just so cool, and I loved her little lace cape. Reminded me of like Frozen a little bit.
Yeah.
Loved it. And then the star on her bangs. Just I
Hmm.
love how she does that with her hair,
Yeah.
like little hair art. But Mickey, girl, that outfit. I told you if like in the '90s when like Barbie was at the like peak of her thing and like there was literally a Barbie for everything. If you had shown me, 90s pro wrestling Barbie, I would expect to see that outfit with Mickey James. It looks so good on her. So good. And fit her so good, but the color and everything was very, very 90s to me, and I loved it. It
Mhm.
also reminded me very much of like Stardom. The elaborateness of it, the stockings.
Mhm.
Sariana wears something very similar to that, and she just looks so good too. Um, the match. Holy crap. She was kicking for glory on that one. The kicks that she was throwing, the freaking strikes she was throwing. These girls were going hard. And the near
Mhm.
falls in this match were so crazy. And every time Trinity pinned Mickie, you were just sitting there like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. It was an exciting match to watch with you.
I'm so scared.
The amount of times your head just went, no. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that Trinity retained because I actually did expect Mickie to actually take this one. Just because she, with all of the announcements that ended up happening after and everything kind of leading to it, I feel like she is kind of that gold standard of Impact's women's division right now, the active women's division right now.
Mhm.
And having her rep the women's division would be phenomenal. But I think right now it's Trinity's time and that it's her turn to kind of lead the women's division into this new rebranding. And we'll see.
New slash old at
Yeah.
the same time.
Hey, it
Uh,
gives them an opportunity to capitalize on what used to be, right?
yeah. And Bobby Batista, thank you, Bobby. Who would like to see wrestle against Trinity before she wrestled against Jordan? I don't know. He said maybe Tasha. I feel like based on because I don't know the result. Just saying it right now, noting I don't know who won or if they retained the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. So I
Mhm.
don't know if I see Tasha versus I was gonna say Naomi versus Trinity. I would like to see it. I don't know. Barry, I'm hoping Kai Lincoln comes in the title picture. I think that would be a nice one to see it. Her and maybe Jody challenge her. I would like to see
Mhm.
somebody newer to do something that has a different style than Trinity. I would like to see that drastic difference there in styles before we get her and Jordan. Obviously, I know Mickie's out of the list and Jordan and Deonna's out of the list too. So I don't know. I feel like they have a few choices. Just a matter of building up that person
Yeah.
before the next pay per view happens. But yeah, I feel like Kylie will be a good one just because we see her now as a singles competitor. I feel like it's her time to like really show who she really is. So
Mhm.
it's like I wouldn't mind seeing her against Trinity, somebody who has a lot of more experience like Kylie does, and kind of be able to show her the ropes in that kind of aspect. And maybe Jody will be the other one that I can see happening if they
Mhm.
haven't yet. I haven't been keeping up with Impact as much as I used to, so at least I know that it's been um Giselle a little bit, and then Deonna, and we had Jordan before, and now Mickie. So I don't expect any of those to be going against her recently. Yeah, I don't know if I see Giselle going into that right now. That's the only thing, but I don't know. Maybe I don't. I had to go back and kind of get keep up with Impact again to like kind of say more names, but I feel like Kylie King and Tasha are the ones that I could see happening, depending on the result of the Knockouts Tag Team Championship matches. I don't know what happened. We'll see. I'm trying to find the answer, but I don't know who won. So, um, after this,
no, sorry. In regards to that,
Mhm.
I don't watch Impact enough to know all of the names of the girls on there, but I know the ones that I like.
Mhm.
I don't know. Is Killing Ken? Is it Keelan
Kylie
King?
King,
Kylan?
yeah.
Kylan King. Okay. Is she a heel or a face regularly? She's giving me heel vibes.
Yeah, because she started as a heel, with jeez, I'm blanking on her name right now.
Oh,
I
she was
know,
the witch girl.
yeah, they were doing the coven together, and then
They
I
were
feel like it
what?
maybe 2 weeks ago or so, they announced that I forgot her name. If I know Bobby's gonna tell me in
Is
the
it
comments in
Taylor?
just a moment. Yeah, Taylor Wilde. Like Taylor got attacked, and then they announced that it was Kylie King who attacked her. So basically, it's like she took out her partner, which is
Oh,
which is the weirdest thing because I don't know if that happened on screen or not because I never saw any footage
but
of
didn't
it.
she bewitch her to
So
convince her to
yeah,
join them?
sort of.
Well, I mean, this is the danger of mucking with magic.
So
You know, you summon
I
a
don't
demon
know.
to possess someone, you're gonna lose control of that demon eventually, honey. This is what
Yeah.
happens.
And the funny
That
part is
being
like I
said,
don't know if they showed it though. I just know they kind of said it's like, oh yeah, she got attacked this way, and then Santino said, how do you know she was attacked that way? Like nobody said that, which is what made them think like she's the
oh,
one that did it. So she's still probably like a heel at that moment. I don't think she's turned face, and I think they definitely need heels in the knockouts division. So I think she's probably staying as a heel for now. And I don't know what happened with Taylor after that because she just got attacked and she disappeared.
because maybe I was gonna say maybe having King being like that in between
Hmm.
title runner would be a good idea. It depends on how long Taylor's gonna be out.
Hmm.
If this was just a random attack to like keep her off TV for a week or two, and then she can come back, and because that will obviously be a feud
Hmm.
that they'll
Yeah.
have to kind of settle up there. Or if it's they removed her because of an injury or something, and maybe we won't get that feud until a few months from now. Um, yeah, I don't really know the girls that well, so I can't really answer the question very well. But I would like to see Rosemary back. And not like the bubbly 80s Rosemary. I want to see that like twisted, like shadow realm Rosemary back. I feel like we need some darkness, legitimate darkness in this ring here. Um,
Legitimate darkness. I
yeah,
love it.
legitimate darkness, not the fake summoned kind.
That's my favorite line of the night, aside from Glorious Chaos.
Glorious Chaos is an everyday quote for this girl.
Geez, this is the part another one that I was kind of scared about. We had Moosse doing an interview showing off his briefcase that he still has not his shot for, and I thought he was inserting himself into the main event, and I went, "Oh no, I'm done, I'm done," because I don't want to watch this. But it looks like he announced that he's going for Hard to Kill. It's like, again, why are we announcing it? Just tease it, you know.
Mhm.
So, Barry saying, someone said Taylor's got a hand injury. Can't recall who. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up because I just know that they say she got attacked. I don't think I ever saw footage of the attack, and then
Mm.
I wasn't sure if she was done with Impact and they were just writing her off screen or if it was an injury. So I had to definitely do my research on that because I wasn't entirely sure on what was happening.
An injury like that would definitely be a major concern in this kind of work.
So, but yeah, going back to Moose though, I'm glad it wasn't him
Mm,
going into the match tonight because I didn't want him getting involved. But again, it just reminded me of what Jordan did too. Just like I know you have a briefcase, and it's like Money in the Bank to me. So it's like I
mm,
wouldn't just say I'm gonna be cashing at this pay per view unless you're a face. I get it, but like
mm.
Moose being the heel, well, heels. I wouldn't announce it ahead of time. I would have just called my shot like maybe when the match is happening or even like the
Walk
day of
down
the
this.
pay-per-view, but
Yeah.
not beforehand.
Mm,
So I definitely didn't expect that announcement, at least tonight. um and then to end the show we had Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World Championship. Again, this was one of those that they literally killed it from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I have no words for this match because they had such a back and forth. We had a little bit of Shelley going a tiny bit. I would say it wasn't as much going for that quickness in there, but then he
Mhm,
was getting slowed down by Josh as well. It's similar to what happened with Sabin and Kenta at the beginning, but I feel
mhm,
like Sabin did more towards the speed than Shelley did in the main event.
100%.
But I feel like they had a good back and forth, and especially towards the submissions that were targeting a certain body part during the match too. It's like, no, I'm going for your knee, and I like how Josh is targeting more of like Alex's knees. It's like, yeah, take off his speed. That's how you defeat him. So
Mhm,
I like him going for that target in there too. And then we had it going, Alex going kind of for Josh's arm. He's like, I don't want you to put your finisher on me. So I was like, I'm gonna take off your arm instead. But I don't know if the ending for me. I don't know if it felt awkward, but like the pinfall when that it happened, I didn't think it was the end. I thought he was gonna like Josh was gonna
yeah,
kick out. It just
same.
felt weird the timing of it, but overall we had Alex Shelley retain the championship. I was hoping that Josh would win it though. Um, I really
Mhm,
I really want him to win it in like one of the big pay-per-views. I was hoping this was it. But I like the overall show of respect and sportsmanship at the end because he raises his hand, they shake hands, he puts the championship on Alex. And that's when we had like the ending was weird because I was expecting somebody to come out from behind him because
mhm,
they were showing like a big shot and like him celebrating in the ring. But overall, still, these two it was so great. I just can't even describe it.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, the match was very much like it felt like the size difference between Shelley and Alexander was what allowed Alexander to kind of always keep his hands on Shelley so that Shelley couldn't get to that speed. And like Josh Alexander is such a great technical wrestler. Um that I was actually thinking that the kind of opposite situation that I was thinking with Mickie and Trinity, because I was like, Mickie is kind of the golden girl of and the gold standard of the Impact Women's division. And like for me, I've heard a lot of Josh Alexander, not just being Canadian. He's made such a name for himself in Impact over the last few years that is just he is the same standard as Mickie James is in his division. So I honestly was expecting him to pick up a win here because Alex Shelley, he is the original gold standard, whereas like Josh Alexander is the new gold standard kind of thing. I do enjoy though the little kind of ride that they are giving Shelley right now because he has worked so hard for this company over its like humble beginnings and like throughout the years and throughout his career, it's nice to see him getting that top tier championship and having a bit of a run with it. I don't really like the character he's turning into. Um, kind of a dick. Um, I'm glad to see there was a handshake at the end though, so kind of makes the dickiness less dicky, but stop being a dick. Um, Yeah, this was a tremendous way to end their show. But as you mentioned, the pin that came to the end, like that ended the
Yeah.
match, it felt very like anticlimactic for how
Yeah.
good the rest of the match was.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it too. And
Mhm.
Barry saying, "I was glad Shelley won. He needed to beat Alexander to cement his title reign." Yeah,
He did,
now that
yeah.
I think about it that way, that does make sense. And I was waiting on this one. Chris Best, good evening, ladies. But it sounds like a show I need to go back and watch. Definitely recommend it because
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that the most fun match, as we said, was definitely the Gauntlet, and the match of the night was definitely Ospreay and Speedball.
Ospreay.
But thank you for stopping by, Chris Best, and for anybody that watches him. He's usually part of the Raw Watch along on OLE and part of Turnbuckle Talk almost on a weekly basis, I would say, to be honest,
Mhm.
on OLE. So if you haven't, go back and watch that. Or you can watch it. I was going to say tomorrow, thinking today's Sunday, but it's actually Saturday. So I was going to say tomorrow, but it's not tomorrow. It's on
No,
Monday.
no, no. Give me
Yeah.
that extra day.
It's almost midnight for me, so maybe that's why I feel like it was tomorrow, but it's not.
Fair,
um,
fair.
as Bobby's saying, I like to see more Sunny Kiss on Impact Wrestling. Yeah, thinking
Yeah.
back of like seeing Sunny Kiss there, I feel like Impact is the company for that Sunny Kiss could fit in. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm hoping this wasn't a one-time thing, because as long as they bring people for just like matches like the gauntlet match, like do a surprise, it was like, oh, we get the buzz from the person. I think
Yeah.
the funny part would have been if somebody from AEW started tweeting about Sunny Kiss matches from the past, because that's what Impact likes to do about people. If something happens in AEW, like for example with Sting, they'll start posting something. Oh, Sting, was talking to the crowd on this day, and then they have a good of like going back and forth of whatever's happening in AEW or even WWE, they tweet about something similar to it, knowing
Mhm.
that the person's getting talked about. So it's like it would have been funny this time AEW social media team tweeted something about Sonny Kiss, knowing that they were on Impact tonight. So I think that would have been funny. Um, but no, it's like I
That
feel like
would mean AEW would have to do something productive and functional with their
I will say, like for
social
me,
media stuff.
Impact's like a social media team is definitely like the best one when it comes to picking up stuff like this. So it's like I haven't seen AW do something similar, but that would have been funny if it happened.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like Sunny, like being part of Impact would definitely be something good for them. So that will benefit them too. I think it will also give us so many options of like fresh matches, like Sunny Kiss versus like Jody Threat, versus Giselle versus Savannah and maybe Jay Vidal. Who knows? But I feel like
Mhm.
it gives us a lot of options, and I feel like they could be used more on like a weekly basis as well, versus how it
Mhm.
was in AEW. And Chris Best, don't worry, Astrid. I was thinking the same. I was about to go in and prep for the Watch Watch for so long. It's almost midnight for me, so you should excuse me. It is almost Sunday for me at this point, so it is for me tomorrow. And I know it's not for you guys, but for me it is. Um, but I think overall, I'm glad I was watching it with you. It was such a fun show to watch together, like commentate back and forth. And also, I did want to, before we close out, I did want to say congratulations to Mike Tenay and Don West, and even the OJ KO Tracy Brooks for being part of the Impact Hall of Fame. I think that was really amazing to watch. It was kind of sad just watching the videos of like Mike Tenay and Don West and being back to that's like the
Mhm.
commentary team I grew up with. So it's like it was bittersweet watching that. I did
Mhm.
love the part of Tracy having the girls be like, you're the one of the girls that paved the way for what the knockouts are tonight. Um, and as Barry's saying, is like first pay per view I've seen in a while that had no poor matches. Yeah, I feel like there was no bad matches tonight. There was more some of them that kept my interest more than others, but it wasn't like bad matches. I feel like they just I could have done without them, which is a different story. Like Monsters Ball, I'm not a hardcore match kind of person, and you're not either. So I know that
Yeah.
it's not our cup of tea, but it wasn't a bad match in itself. Though. It was really entertaining. It just we
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
watch.
no, the razor blades that I saw in the NJPW Deathmatch one a month ago were certainly far worse than this, but it's certainly not something that I run out and expectantly want to
Exactly.
watch.
Yeah. But I feel like there was no like I don't have a match that I could say was a bad match tonight. I feel like everything flowed very well from
Mhm.
beginning to end.
100%.
I loved it. I was like the only disappointment overall was like the knockouts tag team championship was not part of
Yeah.
the pay per view after being advertised. But other than that, everything was really well tonight. So I
Mhm.
loved it from beginning to end. So I recommend that if you haven't watched it, go back and watch Bound for Glory. I'm gonna watch my AEW tomorrow because I know it's 3 hours of AEW, so that gives me something to watch tomorrow wrestling wise, since I don't have anything else for the night. But yeah,
You
overall
wanna
an
watch the Super
enjoyable pay
Juniors
per
for
view.
me?
Do I? No, that's your thing. I'll give it to you. But yeah, you had a fun night watching Impact with me. But now tell the people where they can find you. What else do you have going on with your Paramindful and Andre and Melball's wrestling talk?
Well, as Astrid said, you can catch me on our local establishment's programming Paramindful with Alex the Werewolf. We are going to be dropping an episode the day before Halloween. We're talking about some interesting Halloween urban legends and myths from around the world. So you want to check that out. You can also catch me on Andre Melville's Wrestling Talk. We're going to be dropping a Chop Talk soon about the Top Talent show that we recently saw, which has also been featured on Fight TV. So if you guys have a Fight TV, um, what am I trying to say? Subscription, that's the word.
Yeah.
You can go in there and check out Top Talent Wrestling, where the main event was the Effie. I love Effie taking on arguably Alberta's best heel and longest running heel in El Lobo, Andy Anderson. That was a main event that you just do not want to miss. That was so good. So good. And we also had to watch, Joey Janela take on Harlan Abbott, which was like stupidly long, but such a good match. So yeah, definitely want to check that out. We're going to be doing some more on the Super Juniors coming up. We've also got the Goddess of Stardom Tag League that we're reviewing. So go ahead and check that out on Andre Melballs. You can follow me on the X thing at Collins Melball and everything else Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon, and Blue Sky at Melball Collins.
There we go. Aside from that, as we have it earlier, I know I have my Red Bull to cheat and I haven't had a Red Bull in a couple months. But if you don't like, this Red Bull stuff, I recommend you go to rogueenergy.com and use the code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. And then if you haven't yet, go check out OLE on every other social media platform. So we got Twitter, we got Instagram. Obviously, if you're Twitch on YouTube, you're probably watching us right now. There's TikTok as well. Maybe I'll keep doing those brackets on TikTok. So I miss doing those on the TikTok there too. Maybe we'll go back to that. If anything, you can email us at OLE Podcast. Is whether you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you like any one of us to be a guest on your show as well, you can reach out to us that way too. And for me, you can find me on Tuesday again doing Taking Over with Ed. We'll be talking about NXT. It's night one of Halloween Havoc, and we have a lot going on with that stack card so far. So looking forward to that one. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I do have my interview with Delmi Axel, which is the former NBLW featherweight champion, on my YouTube channel. So go check that out. But aside from that, you can find me in X and Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, and then Instagram and Threads, Astrid Pizarro 20. And you're probably watching it right now on Twitch. But if you're not watching on Twitch, go back on my YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And you can find past episodes of Ladies Fashion Showcase. See, there you go. So yeah, you can find past episodes. I know on the next one we're gonna be talking about the PW Women's 250 because now it went up now. So we're waiting for that discussion. We're definitely looking it over to see what we can pinpoint from everything here, and then we want to also discuss about Jade Cargill's appearances in WWE so far, her teases. But overall, we definitely have a lot to discuss for the next episode. Now the PWA came up with their 250, and with everything the glorious chaos that causes in the wrestling community. But overall, thank you everybody for watching us, and we'll see you next time. There.